Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today at this rather lovely hidden Ferrari collection outside of Dallas in Texas. Now believe it or not, we're here in Texas, it's actually snowing outside, so we are remaining indoors in the warmth and we're going to take a bit of a look around at some of the cars in here. For example, everything from a newly purchased Maserati MC20 through the Ferrari 488 GT Modificata. It's actually the first time I've ever really looked at a Modificata, so I'll explain exactly what that is. Some of the other cars that you will spot, including some of the artworks, memorabilia, pictures, and things that are all around us within. Now, I actually met the owner a few years ago with the car that you see up on the walls here, the FXX K EVO, which was run up the hill climb at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Well, we are here today thanks to some introductions from my friend Steve's POV, plus the team at Park Up Front, to dive into the cars in a little bit more detail, because there are some very, very nice touches on many of these that I've never seen elsewhere. So let's do it. We're here in Texas. I make no secret, I love visiting different garages, meeting the owners, understanding the stories, finding out where the passion began, what the story is all about, and this is a new build, even down to the shutter, which is absolutely fabulous. Spot the Dallara EXP just over there as well. We shall come back to that in a moment, but this is of course a collection that is very much focused around Ferrari. The owner's first Ferrari, a 360 Modena a couple of decades ago, now through to some of the greatest cars, including, well, a few that aren't here right now. The FXX K EVO actually lives with Ferrari over in Italy. You can choose to have the car in your garage if you would prefer, or you can keep it there so that they can transport it and handle all of the logistics to take it to the XX events, which, to be honest, is probably the easiest way to go about it if you're actually going to drive the car. And that is a car that has been driven on tens of race circuits around the world. Also a LaFerrari Aperta, which is at service right now, plus a 360 Challenge Stradale, also having a few restoration works done at service as well, and a soon to arrive very nice addition that we'll touch on in a moment. But look at this wall, and I really like the way that this is done, with graphics and artworks and things that link to the cars in the collection. And this is something I'd quite like to do and to take inspiration from in my garage, in fact, with some of the future walls that I'm planning to put into place, because I have so many things along these lines that I'd love to show. Even the different events, the different posters, Quail, Pebble Beach, it all ties in such a nice way. All the trophies, the model cars. In fact, just to come over here very quickly, it's things like this, the amalgam model of the LaFerrari Aperta in Giallo Triplo Strato, just a work of art. The different models of all sorts, the books, these different things that you receive with your cars, the LaFerrari book just here, the smaller models, all of the memorabilia, all telling a story. That is one of the most incredible things. I also really like these super clean cabinets, having some tools and functionality to the garage, and that's something that I'm definitely going to need to work on. But this space, the tiles on the floor, the way the lights are evenly distributed, is done in a brilliant way. It's not easy to get this right. It's not easy to have it all set up like this. But also, it's not even just that. Have a look here. It's things like planning in advance to have the sockets for the trickle chargers, for the smart chargers, the battery conditioners that you need for the cars in the right layout. And of course, this is currently with, 9 cars in this space at the moment, but with the ability to hold 20 or maybe even up to low 20s, I would think, in this overall area. So let's talk cars for a moment. 812 GTS needs no further introduction really, GTS being the convertible version of the superfast, folding hardtop, looking very discreet in the spec, but all of the cars you'll notice have extra details. For example, the dream lines painted along there, along the side skirt, that match with the interior details that you see here. If you look through the front window, you've got those blue touches as well, continuing through on the seats and the dashboard, also on the carbon fiber pieces that you find right up at the very front. And there are so many lovely details about these cars. F12 TDF, 799 cars, 6.3 litre V12, 780 horsepower. This is in Giallo Triplo Strato, and it's a colour that I really one day would love to order for a Ferrari. It's not going to be for my 296 GTS or Pura Sangue, but something hopefully in the limited edition nature down the line. But obviously the TDF was kind of the forerunner to the 812 Superfast based on the F12 Berlinetta. Now this car, I want to show you something. Just hang tight, because I'm going to show you what we've got under the very front. So in these, let me just pull the lever just here. This car also, by the way, was driven at the pre-run to the Miami Formula One Grand Prix. A number of supercars took part in a parade, if you will, around the track beforehand. So inside here, come and have a look at this. The signed front part of the engine bay with some big names. For example, this is Flavio Manzoni, Piero Ferrari, and we've got some of the drivers here. I think it's Kimi. We're going to be able to confirm that in a moment. Obviously the engine itself looks spectacular. All of the carbon fibre in here looks spectacular as well. But something I didn't know about having the cars signed like this is that they actually tell you a little bit more about that on the personalisation specifications plaque. So Ferraris have your complete overview of the spec on a plaque, which in the case of this car you find in the boot, in the trunk of it. Let me just press the button here. Come and have a look at the interior. Obviously the F12 TDF, the stripped out version of it, with the seats, all of the carbon fibre everywhere, and the yellow details continuing through the interior of it. Back here though, I want to show you this. Lift up the rear hatch. We have this shelf which just folds up to reveal the personalisation specifications plaque, where here we have added on Piero Ferrari, Flavio Manzoni, Andrea Felisa, Kimi Räikkönen, Sebastian Vettel signatures in yellow on the engine cover. We also have number 44 painted on the front spoiler with the same font as on FXX K, which I'm going to show you in a second. Number 44, you will see, is the theme. That is the number from the FXX K EVO, in fact, of the owner's collection. As we come back round, come all the way to the very front of the car, and you shall see exactly what we mean here. Number 44 painted over the Giallo Triplo Strato. Lovely attention to detail to tie in the collection, to make it all super personal. These cars, in fact, all have a bit of a story as well behind the paint colour. So of course we should technically start with the 488 GTB, which is painted in blue Corsa Opaco. This was the first satin blue Corsa car, road car, that Ferrari painted in this colour, obviously with the matching satin black wheels, the blue calipers. We've got satin carbon fibre around it as well. We've got the signatures again back there over the top of the engine bay, and obviously this links through as well to the Modificata that we'll get to in a second. I love this special blue. It is a very, very special blue on this particular car. We also have the successor to the 488 in the form of the F8, this being an F8 Spider. This is actually in Giallo Modena. Now, Giallo Modena is a straight gloss yellow paintwork as opposed to the triple layer of Giallo Triplo Strato. It's interesting to see the two cars under the same lights, to see the differences between them. This is a slightly brighter yellow that you get, but without that metallic pearlescent fleck that you see in the F12 TDF. So before we get to this line, just quickly here, in blue Corsa, again as it happens, but in gloss blue Corsa with the stripes, is the 488 Pista. Clearly a bit of a theme with the black and yellow, with throwing in some blue cars within the collection, but this looks really smart. These titanium grey wheels set it off very nicely. Blue Corsa was actually the launch colour of the 488 Spider when that arrived on the scene originally. Let's come over this side though, the SF90 Spider. The SF90 Spider Assetto Fiorano with the painted livery, the painted silver and yellow livery over the top of the blue Corsa on this particular example. Of course, as an owner of an SF90 Stradale, this is a car I like an awful lot, again with some very nice details, and in fact we should probably come round towards the very back. I might need to pop this open. No, we can just about make it out. Back here above the 4-litre twin turbo V8 we have the signatures again, and I find that such a wonderful detail. You know, the people responsible for the car, responsible for designing the car, the F1 drivers that are named as well. It's just the icing on the cake of an already very, very special car. And obviously this being the Assetto Fiorano means you have the higher lip rear spoiler as well on the very back of it. Now we need to talk about the car that, as I mentioned, I've not really ever covered before now, a 488 GT Modificata. Modificata effectively means the evolution. This has taken the 488 GT3, GT3 Evo and GTE cars and introduced them into a car that drivers of the Competizione GT and the Club Competizione GT were invited to purchase. So there are only around 30 to 40 of them or so in total, but consider it like a GT3 with even more power, with even more aero. We're talking 1,000 kilos, 2,200 pounds of downforce. We're talking power being unrestricted restricted to 700 CV, 690 horsepower, and we're talking something that is even more extreme than those already very extreme driving experiences. These can be run with Ferrari or independently, depending what it wants to be, but obviously it's a full race car. It's a full car on slicks, it's a full car with crazy interior, it's a full car with crazy aero, it's a full car that's just absolutely, as you see, crazy in every possible way. And in fact, come and have a look at the engine bay back here. Look at how raw it is. Look at how you can just see everything. It's not finished to be pretty, it's not finished to go over the top, it's all about having everything in there because race car. And then as we come round past these wheels, obviously full slick tyre wheel setup, to the interior of it, this is where it's again complete setup, complete full hardcore setup in every way. That steering wheel is so cool. And then obviously with the fixed bucket seats and all of the safety mechanisms and systems and everything that you would expect to have in such a car. Let's come past though Maserati MC20. I spoke a little bit about this recently, about how when I drove one a bit over a year ago, I never completely got it. I didn't completely get this. Maserati's twin turbo V6 Nettuno engined supercar, Maserati supercar, the MC20, released back in 2020, hence the MC20 name, and obviously the start of a new era for Maserati. This is a car that the owner of the collection absolutely loves, and I suppose it's a car therefore that at some point I'm going to need to get back behind the wheel of to find out a little bit more about and to see if I've been missing something. So hopefully that can happen before long, although like I said, not that you can really tell right now, outside the weather is abysmal. This is one I've also never really seen before, and it's sat here just outside the office, which is super cool. Glass windows from the office space right behind. But this is the Dallara EXP. So they took the already insane Dallara Stradale, the road car, which has 400 horsepower from the 2.3 litre engine, weighs next to nothing, and they unleashed it even more as a track car. It is actually ever so slightly heavier because of adding this gigantic swan neck dual layered wing at the back of it, but it has 100 horsepower more, 500 horsepower, 493 brake horsepower, which is quite frankly silly for something that doesn't weigh all that much. You have to think that this is super light, obviously the open seat experience, very low to the ground, just crazy fast. And it's fascinating also to learn a little bit more about Dallara and what they do, because they're so heavily involved in many other projects. Dallara do a lot of development work for many other car companies, even down to this, the seating area just here, with a model of the FXX, with the camshaft, with everything all on display. And as I've said, this is a collection where the owner takes the cars out, rotates through them all, drives them all to the different events, like meeting with Park Up Front, taking different cars to Cars and Coffee events and things like that. And it's awesome to know where it's all heading. I mean, imagine if the LaFerrari Aperta, the FXX K EVO, the Challenge Stradale, and the not yet disclosed future car that's going to be joining the collection were all here. That, in fact, is going to be the follow-up to this, the 812 Competizione A. The 812 Competizione A being the Aperta, the open-top one that's limited to only 599 cars, but it's quite the history theme. You know, I like this black, yellow, blue. In fact, I really like the yellow and blue idea. I like where that's going. I love the really big graphics up on the walls showing the cars. I mean, look over there behind the MC20. That is literally a graphic of the FXX K EVO running around the carousel at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And that's the car that was originally one of the earliest cars delivered, the original FXXKs, that then had the EVO upgrade package. It was one of the first to be upgraded into the EVO package, which gave even more downforce, which gave even more power, which made it even more crazy. I've said that word a lot, but when it comes to that kind of thing, it's a pretty accurate way of describing it. As we look around though, I love these, having the prancing horses, the Ferrari graphic up there. We're in a heated, climate controlled garage, which to preserve and maintain these things is obviously very special. But this has been, it's a really cool place, you know, to come and visit, and I'd love to come back when all the other cars are here as well. I'd love to return, and maybe with some slightly better weather, we could head out to an event or something like that. How awesome would that be? But to go from a chance bumping into each other at the top of the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb to being out here in Texas to have a visit, to have a look around, hey, pretty special place, and a big thanks to the owner, because this has never been shown before. Of course, it's only recently been finished, but it's a very special opportunity to bring you along to have a look around this lovely garage in the early stages ahead of what's to come. I can completely relate though with the feeling of some of the cars that were previously part of this having been sold and the limitations on space, but as you can imagine, it's previously also included a Speciale Aperta, 16M, and plenty more, and plenty more. But you know what? For now, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you to Steve and to Park Up Front for the introduction to be here today as well. And of course, a big thank you to the owner for allowing me to share with you this lovely hidden collection outside of Dallas in Texas. That's it for now though. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.